Lisa Martinez walked down the empty hospital hallway for the last time. Her hands shook as she carried the small cardboard box filled with 15 years of memories. Inside were her favorite stethoscope, a coffee mug with a faded heart on it, and 3 thank you cards from patients she had saved. The hospital badge clipped to her blue scrubs felt heavy now that it meant nothing. The head nurse had called her into the office that morning with sad eyes and tired words. Budget cuts meant they had to let people go. Lisa was one of the best nurses they had, but she was also expensive after all those years of service. The newer nurses cost less and worked just as hard. It was nothing personal, they said, just business. Lisa had nodded and smiled like she understood. Inside, her heart was breaking. This job was her whole life. She worked double shifts when others called in sick. She stayed late to comfort frightened patients. She had given up dating, family gatherings, and vacations to be there when people needed her most. Now none of that mattered. The automatic doors slid open as she stepped into the cool evening air. Her old car sat in the parking lot, waiting to take her home to an empty apartment and an uncertain future. At 38 years old, she was starting over with nothing but her skills and a small severance check that would last maybe 2 months. Lisa decided to walk home instead of driving. The route through the industrial district was longer, but she needed time to think. The abandoned warehouses and empty lots matched her mood perfectly. Streetlights flickered on as darkness fell around her. Her footsteps echoed off the cracked pavement. That was when she heard it. A low rumbling sound came from somewhere behind the old Morrison Steel building. It sounded like a wounded animal, but deeper and more powerful than anything she had ever heard. Lisa stopped walking and listened. The sound came again, weaker this time, filled with pain and exhaustion. Her medical training kicked in before. Her common sense could stop her. Someone or something was hurt and needed help. That was all that mattered. Lisa set down her cardboard box and followed the sound around the building. What she found made her breath catch in her throat. A massive creature lay trapped beneath fallen steel beams from the construction site next door. It was easily 20 feet long from nose to tail, with scales that shimmered blue and green even in the dim light. 4 powerful legs ended in claws that could tear through metal. 2 wings, torn and bloody, were pinned under the heavy beams. Most incredible of all were its eyes. Golden amber eyes that looked at her with intelligence and desperate hope. This was no animal from Earth. This was something impossible, something that should not exist. But it was real, and it was dying. Lisa approached slowly, her hands raised, to show she meant no harm. The creature watched her but did not try to move. Blood seeped from dozens of cuts across its body. Its breathing was shallow and labored. She could see the signs of dehydration and shock that she had learned to recognize in her years as a nurse. "Easy there," she whispered, the same voice she used with frightened patients. "I'm going to help you." The creature made a soft rumbling sound, almost like a cat purring. Lisa took that as permission to come closer. She knelt beside its massive head and began her examination. The injuries were severe but not hopeless. If this had been a human patient, she would have called for an ambulance and trauma team. Here, in this abandoned lot, she was all the help this creature was going to get. Lisa ran back to her car and grabbed her emergency kit from the trunk. She always kept basic medical supplies with her, a habit from her early days as a nurse. Back at the construction site, she found plastic tarps, rope, and tools that she could use. Working by the light of her phone's flashlight, Lisa began to treat the creature's wounds. She cleaned cuts with bottled water and covered them with bandages. She used rope and pulleys to lift the steel beams enough to free the creature's wings. Every movement brought soft sounds of pain, but the creature never tried to hurt her. The worst injury was a deep gash along the creature's side that was still bleeding. Lisa used everything she had learned about trauma care to stop the bleeding and close the wound. Her hands moved with practiced skill, even though she was treating something that should not exist. Hours passed as she worked. The creature grew, weaker, but its eyes never left her face. There was something in that gaze that went beyond animal intelligence. This being understood what she was doing and why. It was grateful in a way that touched her heart. As dawn light began to creep across the sky, the creature's breathing finally steadied. The bleeding had stopped, and its color looked better. Lisa sat back on her heels, exhausted but satisfied. She had done everything she could with what she had available. The creature lifted its great head and looked directly into her eyes. Then something impossible happened. A voice spoke inside her mind, warm and deep, like distant thunder. "Thank you, healer of the small ones. Your kindness will not be forgotten." Lisa jerked back in surprise, but the creature's eyes remained gentle. It had spoken to her without moving its mouth, the words appearing in her thoughts as clearly as if someone had whispered in her ear. "I don't understand," she said out loud. "What are you?" But the creature was already moving. With careful movements, it pulled its wings free from the last of the debris. The wings spread wide, casting shadows across the construction site. Despite the bandages and obvious pain, the creature prepared to fly. Before it took off, it did something that Lisa would remember for the rest of her life. It reached out with one clawed foot and gently touched her hand. Where it touched, she felt warmth spread up her arm and through her whole body. Then it pulled away, leaving something behind. A single scale, no bigger than her palm, lay in Lisa's hand. It was warm to the touch and seemed to glow with inner light, shifting from blue to green to gold as she watched. The creature gave her one last look, its golden eyes full of promise. Then it launched itself into the sky with powerful wing, beats that created gusts of wind strong enough to knock Lisa off balance. Within seconds, it was gone, disappearing into the morning clouds like it had never been there at all. Lisa stood alone in the construction site, holding the impossible scale and wondering if she had lost her mind. The events of the last few hours seemed like a dream, but the scale in her hand was real and warm. Her clothes were dirty from crawling around the construction site. Her medical kit was empty, all the supplies used up. She had lost her job yesterday, but somehow that seemed less important now. Something incredible had happened to her. Something that changed everything she thought she knew about the world. As she walked home carrying her cardboard box and the mysterious scale, Lisa felt like her real life was just beginning. The scale pulsed gently in her pocket, warm against her leg, as if it was trying to tell her something. Soon, she would learn that her act of kindness had set in motion events that would change not just her life, but the future of all humanity. For now, though, she was just a tired nurse walking home after the strangest night of her life, carrying proof that miracles were real. Lisa barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw golden amber eyes and felt the warmth of that impossible voice speaking in her mind. The scale sat on her nightstand, glowing softly in the darkness like a piece of captured starlight. She reached for it several times, needing to touch it and prove to herself that everything had really happened. By morning, doubt had crept in. Maybe she had been more stressed about losing her job than she realized. Maybe her mind had created an elaborate fantasy to cope with the pain of being fired. The scale looked ordinary in daylight, just a pretty piece of blue-green material that could have come from anywhere. Lisa made coffee and sat at her small kitchen table, staring out the window at the normal world beyond. Cars drove by on their way to normal jobs. People walked dogs and checked mail and lived their regular lives. Everything looked exactly the same as it had 2 days ago, before her world had been turned upside down. She was still sitting there at exactly 9:47 in the morning when her doorbell rang. Lisa was not expecting anyone. Her few friends were at work, and she had not ordered anything online. She looked through the peephole and saw a tall figure standing on her doorstep, but the person was somehow hard to focus on, like looking at someone through water. When she opened the door, Her breath caught in her throat for the second time in 12 hours. The being standing on her doorstep looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin had a silver tint that seemed to shift in the light. Its eyes were the color of deep space, dark and filled with distant stars. It wore clothes that appeared to be made of liquid metal, flowing and changing with each movement like mercury, made into fabric. "Lisa Martinez," the being said, and its voice carried strange harmonics that made her bones vibrate gently. "I am Ambassador Kai of the Draconic Sovereign Alliance. You have performed a service of immeasurable value to our people." Lisa gripped the doorframe to keep from falling over. Behind the ambassador, she could see 4 shapes in the sky that definitely had not been there moments before. They were not airplanes or helicopters or anything else she recognized. They were ships, but unlike any vehicle ever built on Earth. Each one was the size of a city block, elegant and smooth, with hulls that seemed to bend light around them. They floated silently above her apartment complex like something out of a dream. "I'm sorry," Lisa managed to say. "I think you have the wrong person. I'm just a nurse." "Well, I was a nurse until yesterday." Ambassador Kai smiled, and when he did, his whole face seemed to glow from within. "There is no mistake, Lisa Martinez. The one you healed last night was Prince Zane, heir to the throne of Dracosia Prime and commander of the 3rd Stellar Fleet. He was on a secret mission when his ship was damaged by a solar storm. Your actions have prevented a diplomatic crisis that could have started a war between our alliance and the human colonies that your people do not yet know exist." Lisa felt dizzy. "Human colonies? What human colonies?" "Your species has been traveling to the stars for longer than your governments admit," Kai explained patiently. "But that is not why I am here today. I have come because of the ancient laws of our people. A life debt must be repaid, and Prince Zane has declared you to be under the protection of the Alliance. More important than that, your actions have caught the attention of the High Council." The ambassador gestured toward the ships floating overhead. "In all our centuries of space travel, we have never encountered beings who would risk their lives for a creature they had never seen before, with no hope of reward or recognition. Your species has shown something that is very rare in the galaxy. You have shown pure compassion." Lisa looked up at the impossible ships, then back at the silver-skinned being on her doorstep. "This is really happening, isn't it? You're really from another world." "I am from many worlds," Kai replied. "But yes, this is really happening. Those 4 ships represent the 4 great houses of our alliance: the House of Stellar Wings, the House of Crystal Flames, the House of Void Dancers, and the House of Storm. Riders! Each has sent their finest vessel to escort you to Dracosia Prime, where you will be formally recognized as a friend of the dragons." "Friend of the dragons?" "It is the highest honor we can give to someone outside our species. You will be the first human to ever receive it." Kai paused, studying her face. "But the choice is yours, Lisa Martinez. You can return to your normal life, and we will ensure that you never want for anything. Or you can come with us and see wonders beyond your imagination." Lisa thought about her normal life, the job she had lost, the empty apartment, the feeling that her skills and dedication meant nothing to anyone. Then she looked at the scale on her nightstand, still glowing softly in the morning light. "If I go with you, can I come back?" "Whenever you wish," Kai assured her. "Though I suspect you will find that the galaxy has much need for someone with your gifts." Lisa took a deep breath. Every sensible part of her mind was screaming that this was insane, that she should close the door and call a doctor to check her mental health. But a deeper part of her, the part that had made her kneel beside an impossible creature and work through the night to save its life, knew that this was the most important decision she would ever make. "How long do I have to decide?" "The ships will wait as long as necessary," Kai said. But Prince Zane is eager to thank you personally, and the High Council is very curious to meet the human who showed such kindness to one of their own. Lisa looked around her small apartment one more time. At the medical textbooks on her shelves, the certificates on her walls, the photos of patients who had sent her Christmas cards over the years. All of it represented a life dedicated to helping. Others, a life that had just been declared worthless by budget cuts and cost savings. Maybe it was time for a change. "I'll need to pack a few things," she said. Kai's smile grew brighter. "Of course. But I should warn you that where we are going, much of what you might pack will seem very primitive. The Alliance has technologies that will amaze you." "Will I be able to help people? I mean, other beings like yourself?" "The Alliance has need of healers who can think beyond the boundaries of their own species," Kai replied. "Your skills, combined with our technology and knowledge, could save lives across dozens of worlds." That decided it for Lisa. She had become a nurse to help people, and now she was being offered the chance to help people across the entire galaxy. It was an opportunity that would never come again. "Give me 10 minutes, she said. As she packed a small bag with her most precious possessions, including the dragon scale, Lisa could hear the sound of her neighbors coming outside to stare at the ships overhead. By evening, there would be news reports and government investigations. But by then, she would be traveling between the stars, beginning an adventure that would change everything she thought she knew about the universe. When she stepped back outside, Ambassador Kai was waiting with that same patient smile. "Are you ready, Lisa Martinez?" Lisa shouldered her bag and looked up at the ships one more time. "I'm ready." As they walked toward a small shuttle that had landed silently in the parking lot, Lisa felt the dragon scale pulse warm against her chest, where she had hung it on a chain. Somehow, she knew that Prince Zane was waiting for her among the stars, and that her real life was about to begin. The shuttle that carried Lisa from her apartment to the flagship was unlike any vehicle she had ever seen. There were no visible engines or propulsion systems, yet it moved through the air as smoothly as a fish swimming through water. The interior was larger than it appeared from outside, with walls that glowed softly and seemed to pulse with a gentle rhythm like a heartbeat. Ambassador Kai sat across from her, still smiling that strange, luminous smile. "How are you feeling, Lisa Martinez?" "Terrified and excited at the same time," Lisa admitted. "This morning I was unemployed and feeling sorry for myself. Now I'm flying to meet aliens in spaceships. It's a lot to process." "That is a very human response," Kai said. "Most species would either run in fear or attack what they did not understand. Humans seem to be curious above all else. It is one of the things that makes your kind so interesting to us." Through the shuttle's transparent walls, Lisa watched as they approached the largest of the 4 ships. Up close, it was even more impressive than it had appeared from the ground. The hull curved in impossible ways, covered with patterns that seemed to shift and change as she watched. Lights moved beneath the surface like schools of fish swimming through deep water. "This is the flagship of the House of Stellar Wings," Kai explained. "It is commanded by Captain Elena Voss, who has requested the honor of transporting you to Dracosia Prime herself." The shuttle docked with the larger ship so smoothly that Lisa barely felt the connection. When the doors opened, she stepped into a corridor that took her breath away. The walls were not metal or plastic, but something that looked almost alive. They pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that seemed to respond to her presence, growing, brighter as she approached and dimming as she passed. Captain Elena Voss was waiting to greet them. She appeared more human than Ambassador Kai, though her hair moved as if she were underwater and her skin held a faint glow like moonlight on waves. She wore a uniform that seemed to be woven from starlight itself, shifting between deep blue and silver as she moved. "Welcome aboard the Cosmic Dawn, Lisa Martinez," Captain Voss said, extending her hand in what Lisa recognized as a human gesture. "I am honored to meet the one who saved Prince Zane." Lisa shook the captain's hand, surprised by how warm and normal it felt. "Thank you for having me. This is all pretty overwhelming." "I can imagine," Captain Voss replied with genuine sympathy. "Would you like to see your quarters first, or shall I give you a tour of the ship?" "Tour, please," Lisa said immediately. Her curiosity was stronger than her exhaustion. Captain Voss led them through corridors that seemed to stretch for miles. The ship was far larger inside than its exterior suggested, as if space itself bent differently here. They passed rooms filled with beings that Lisa could barely comprehend. Some looked almost human. Others were clearly not from any world she could imagine. The Alliance is made up of over 300 different species from across the galaxy, Captain Voss explained as they walked. "We have learned that diversity makes us stronger. Each species brings unique perspectives and abilities that benefit the whole." They stopped at a vast chamber with transparent walls that offered a view of space unlike anything Lisa had ever seen. Stars streaked past in brilliant lines of light, and nebulae painted the darkness in colors that had no names. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "We are traveling faster than light," Captain Voss said, noticing Lisa's amazement. "The journey to Dracosia Prime will take 3 days at our current speed." 3 days to travel between star systems. The Alliance has mastered technologies that your Earth scientists consider impossible, Captain Voss replied. "But what truly interests us about humanity is not your potential for technological advancement. It is your capacity for compassion toward the unknown." Over the next 3 days, Lisa explored the ship and learned about the galaxy beyond Earth. The crew treated her with a mixture of curiosity and respect that she found both flattering and bewildering. Many of them went out of their way to speak with her, asking questions about human culture and medicine. In the ship's medical bay, she met Dr. Alan Torres, a human who had been taken from Earth 40 years earlier when his experimental aircraft crashed in the desert. He had chosen to stay among the stars rather than return home. "Earth medicine focuses on treating symptoms," Dr. Torres explained as he showed Lisa around the advanced medical facility. "Alliance medicine treats the harmony between body, mind, and spirit. But your intuitive approach, your willingness to help regardless of species, that cannot be taught. That is pure human instinct." Lisa spent hours learning about galactic medicine, comparing her Earth-based knowledge with technologies that seemed like magic. Healing chambers that could repair tissue at the cellular level, devices that could diagnose illness by reading energy patterns, medicines that worked on the quantum level to restore balance to living systems. The Alliance has been observing Earth for centuries, Dr. Torres told her during one of their sessions. Most of the council believed that humans were too aggressive and warlike to be trusted with advanced technology. Your actions have started to change their minds. "What do you mean?" "Prince Zane has petitioned the High Throne to grant humanity provisional membership in the Alliance. He argues that your species' capacity for compassion, even toward complete strangers, is exactly what the galaxy needs right now." Lisa felt a weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "That's a lot of pressure." "The best part is that you do not even realize how special what you did was," Dr. Torres said with a smile. "To you, helping an injured creature was just natural. You did not stop to think about whether it might be dangerous or what you might gain from it. You just helped because help was needed." On the second day of the journey, Captain Voss invited Lisa to the bridge to see their destination. Dracosia Prime appeared on the main display as a world that defied everything Lisa thought she knew about planets. It seemed to be made of crystal and flame, with cities that floated among the clouds and towers that reached up into space itself. "The dragons built their world to match their nature," Captain Voss explained. "They are beings of fire and air, of crystal song and stellar wind. Their cities grow rather than being constructed, shaped by generations of dragon breath and will." They approached the planet, Lisa could see the dragons themselves. They filled the skies around their world, creatures of every size and color imaginable. Some were no bigger than birds, while others were larger than the ship that carried her. All of them moved with a grace and purpose that spoke of ancient intelligence. "Prince Zane will meet us when we land," Captain Voss said. "He has been eager to thank you properly for saving his life." Lisa touched the dragon scale hanging around her neck. It had grown warmer as they approached Dracosia Prime, and now it pulsed with a rhythm that matched her heartbeat. Somehow she could feel Prince Zane's presence growing stronger, like a voice calling to her across the void. "Captain," she said, quietly. "What happens if the Alliance Council decides that humanity is not ready to join you?" Captain Voss was quiet for a long moment, watching the crystal cities of Dracosia Prime grow larger on the display. "Then we wait," she said finally. "We have learned patience over the centuries, but I believe that your actions have already changed the course of history, Lisa Martinez. The galaxy is about to discover what humans are truly capable of." As their ship entered the planet's atmosphere, Lisa felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She was about to meet beings that most humans would consider mythological, on a world that existed beyond Earth's wildest dreams. Everything she did and said in the next few days would help determine humanity's future among the stars. The dragon scale around her neck pulsed once more, warm and reassuring. Prince Zane was waiting for her somewhere below, and she could feel his gratitude reaching across the distance between them. Whatever happened next, Lisa knew that her life would never be ordinary again. The ship settled onto a landing platform made of crystallized music, where dragons of all sizes had gathered to welcome the human who had changed their prince's fate. As the doors opened and alien air filled her lungs for the first time, Lisa Martinez stepped forward to meet her destiny among the stars. The first thing Lisa noticed about Dracosia Prime was the music. The entire world hummed with harmonious frequencies that seemed to rise from the crystal structures themselves. The air tasted of ozone and starlight, and every breath filled her with energy she had never felt before. The landing platform was carved from a single massive crystal that resonated with the sound of dragon wings. Hundreds of dragons had gathered to see her arrival, creatures so magnificent that her human mind struggled to process their beauty. They ranged from tiny beings no larger than hummingbirds that sparkled like living jewels, to ancient giants whose wings could have shadowed entire city blocks. At the center of the gathering stood Prince Zane in his true form. Lisa recognized him immediately, even though his wounds had healed completely. His scales shifted through every shade of blue and green she had ever seen, and his golden amber eyes held the same intelligence and gratitude she remembered from that night in the abandoned construction site. "Lisa Martinez of Earth." "Prince," Zane said, his mental voice now warm with familiarity and joy. "You have done something that will be remembered for 1,000 generations." Lisa felt overwhelmed by the grandeur surrounding her, but Prince Zane's presence was comforting and familiar. "I just did what anyone would have done," she said aloud, knowing that somehow he would understand her spoken words. A ripple of what could only be described as laughter passed through the assembled dragons. Prince Zane's great head tilted slightly, a gesture that seemed almost human despite his enormous size. "That is exactly why you are so remarkable," he replied. "To you, saving the life of a stranger was simply the natural thing to do. You did not consider the danger to yourself or what you might gain. You saw suffering and acted to end it. This is the rarest quality in the universe." Captain Voss and Ambassador Kai flanked Lisa as they walked through the Crystal City toward the Royal Palace. The buildings around them defied everything she understood about architecture. They grew from the ground like living things, twisted spires of crystallized song that rang like bells in harmonies too complex for human ears to fully appreciate. Dragons of all sizes flew between the towers, their movements creating wind patterns that added to the planet's eternal music. Some carried passengers from other species, while others seemed to be engaged in aerial dances that painted the sky with streams of colored flame. "The dragons do not build their cities," Ambassador Kai explained as they walked. "They sing them into existence over centuries. Each building is a crystallized memory, a frozen moment of dragon song made solid." The royal palace rose before them like a mountain made of pure light. Its walls were transparent crystal that showed the movements of the dragons within, their forms creating shifting patterns of shadow and brilliance. As they approached the main entrance, Lisa could feel the scale around her neck growing warmer and pulsing faster. Inside the palace, the ceiling stretched up so high that clouds formed near the top. Dragon courtiers filled the vast spaces, some in human-like forms and others in their natural shapes. All of them watched Lisa with curious, intelligent eyes as she passed. The formal ceremony was held in the Hall of Stars, a chamber so large that its far walls were lost in misty distance. The floor was made of black crystal that reflected the stars visible through the transparent dome above. Representatives from dozens of species filled the hall, all come to witness something that had never happened before. At the center of the hall stood a throne that seemed to be carved from a single star. Upon it sat the Dragon Queen herself, a being so ancient and powerful that the air around her shimmered with barely contained energy. Her scales were the color of deep space, black, shot through with silver like the night sky, and her eyes held the wisdom of millennia. "Child of Earth," the Queen said, her mental voice resonating not just in Lisa's mind, but in her very soul. "Approach." Lisa walked across the star-filled floor, her footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. She felt very small and very human in this place of cosmic grandeur, but she also felt the warmth of Prince Zane's presence nearby, giving her strength. When she reached the base of the throne, the Dragon Queen leaned forward slightly, studying Lisa with eyes that seemed to see through to her very essence. "You have done something unprecedented," the Queen continued. "In all our long history, no being has ever been granted the title of Dragon Friend based on a single act of kindness. But your deed has shown us something we had not dared to hope for. Your species possesses true compassion, the ability to love without condition or expectation of reward." The Queen rose from her throne, her massive form casting shadows across the assembled crowd. "We offer you a choice, Lisa Martinez of Earth. You may return to your world with our blessing, and the promise that humanity will be welcomed into the galactic community when your people are ready for such contact." The Queen paused, and Lisa could feel the attention of every being in the hall focused on her. "Or you may stay among us and become the first human dragon friend, learning our ways and serving as ambassador between our peoples. But know that this choice will change not just your life, but the destiny of your entire species." Lisa looked out at the assembled aliens, beings from worlds she could not even imagine. She thought of her old life on Earth, the hospital job she had lost, the feeling that her skills were no longer valued or needed. Then she looked at Prince Zane, whose gratitude had sparked this incredible journey. But more than that, she thought about the medical bay on Captain Voss's ship, and Dr. Torres's words about the Alliance's need for healers who could think beyond the boundaries of their own species. She thought about the suffering that existed across the galaxy, and the good she might be able to do with access to technologies that could heal on levels she had never imagined. "Your Majesty," Lisa said, her voice carrying clearly through the crystal hall despite her nervousness. "I choose to stay, but I want to do more than just serve as ambassador." A murmur of surprise rippled through the assembled crowd. The Dragon Queen's massive head tilted slightly, indicating interest. I want to establish a medical exchange program, Lisa continued, growing more confident as she spoke. Earth's doctors could learn your healing techniques, and your healers could study human medicine. My species' greatest strength is not just compassion, it is our ability to adapt and learn and grow. We could help each other in ways that neither of us has imagined. The silence that followed her words was so complete that Lisa could hear her own heartbeat. Then Prince Zane stepped forward, his mental voice filled with pride and joy. She speaks, wisdom, my queen. Humans do not just feel compassion, they act on it in ways that create positive change. This is exactly what the galaxy needs. The Dragon Queen was quiet for a long moment, her ancient eyes studying Lisa's face. Then she began to sing, a sound so beautiful and complex that it seemed to reach into Lisa's soul and rearrange something fundamental there. The other dragons joined their voices to hers, creating harmonies that made the crystal walls of the hall blaze with rainbow light. When the song ended, the queen spoke again, her mental voice now warm with approval. Let it be so. Lisa Martinez, of Earth, you are hereby named the first human dragon friend and appointed as medical ambassador to the Alliance. You will work with our finest healers to establish the exchange program you have proposed. The hall erupted in dragon song so powerful that the very air seemed to sing. Lisa felt tears streaming down her face as the magnitude of what had just happened sank in. She was no longer just an unemployed nurse from Cleveland. She had become something entirely new, a bridge between worlds and species. Prince Zane approached her as the ceremony concluded, his great head lowering until his golden eyes were level with hers. Thank you, he said simply. For saving my life, yes, but more than that. Thank you for showing us what humans are truly capable of. The galaxy is about to become a much more interesting place. As Lisa was led away to begin her new life among the stars, she touched the dragon scale hanging around her neck one more time. It no longer pulsed with alien energy. Instead, it felt warm and familiar, like a piece of home she would always carry with her. The unemployed nurse who had walked through an abandoned construction site 3 days ago was gone forever. In her place stood Ambassador Lisa Martinez, the first human to be welcomed into the galactic community, ready to help heal the wounds of an entire galaxy. 6 months had passed since Lisa Martinez had knelt in an abandoned construction site to help a wounded dragon. Now she stood in the medical bay of the Alliance flagship Star Harmony, watching as her assistant Dr. Kevin Park worked alongside. A team of mixed-species healers to save the life of a crystalline being from the Andromeda sector. Dr. Park had been a trauma surgeon at Johns Hopkins before Ambassador Kai had approached him with an offer to join the Alliance medical program. Like Lisa, he had chosen to leave Earth behind and dedicate his skills to healing beings across the galaxy. He was now the second human to receive the title of Dragon Friend, and his innovative techniques had already saved dozens of lives. Pulse is stabilizing, Dr. Park called out as he worked with instruments that looked like they belonged in a fantasy novel rather than a medical bay. The crystalline patient's body was unlike anything from Earth, made of living mineral that could shatter if handled incorrectly. But human intuition combined with Alliance technology was proving to be a powerful combination. Lisa smiled as she watched her colleague work. The medical exchange program had exceeded everyone's expectations. Human doctors brought qualities that Alliance healers had never encountered before. They could adapt quickly to treating completely alien physiologies, and their willingness to try unconventional approaches had led to breakthrough treatments for diseases that had puzzled galactic medicine for centuries. In return, Earth physicians, who had been carefully selected and approached, were learning healing techniques that seemed like miracles. Cancer could be cured by realigning cellular frequencies. Broken bones could be mended in minutes using crystallized sound waves. Mental trauma could be healed by restoring balance to the energy patterns that connected mind and body. Dr. Martinez, Dr. Park said, as the crystalline being's vital signs returned to normal. I think our patient is going to make a full recovery. The new synthesis technique worked perfectly. Lisa nodded, making notes on a device that recorded her thoughts directly, rather than requiring her to type or write. The synthesis technique combined human surgical precision with dragon healing, fire and Andromedan crystal resonance therapy. It was exactly the kind of breakthrough that the medical exchange program had been designed to achieve. Her personal quarters aboard the flagship overlooked Earth, which hung in the viewports like a blue and white jewel against the starfield. The planet had been declared a protected developing world under Alliance law, which meant that humanity was being carefully prepared for eventual contact but was not yet ready for full disclosure. Key individuals from around the globe were being quietly approached and offered the choice to join the growing human contingent among the stars. Scientists, doctors, philosophers, and teachers who showed the same qualities of compassion and adaptability that had first caught the Alliance's attention. Each new human who joined them brought fresh perspectives and abilities that continued to amaze their alien colleagues. Lisa often stood at this viewport in the evenings, thinking about how much her life had changed. 6 months ago, she had been an unemployed nurse, feeling worthless and forgotten. Now she was helping to shape the future of human-alien relations and saving lives across the galaxy. The dragon scale still hung around her neck, but it no longer glowed with alien energy. Instead, it had become something more precious, a reminder of the moment when everything changed. Prince Zane visited her quarters regularly to discuss the progress of human integration into Alliance society. In the more intimate setting of her personal space, he often took a human-like form that made conversation easier. He appeared as a tall man with golden eyes and skin that held a subtle scaled pattern, but his essential warmth and gratitude remained unchanged. "Your species continues to amaze us," he said during one such visit, settling into the specially designed furniture that could accommodate both human and dragon physiology. "Yesterday, Dr. Susan Wright from your Mayo Clinic successfully performed surgery on a being made entirely of living plasma. 3 months ago, she was treating humans with what we would consider primitive tools. The speed at which your people adapt and excel is unprecedented." Lisa smiled, still looking out at Earth's familiar continents. "We are good at making the best of impossible situations. It is what we do when everything seems hopeless." "The Council has approved the next phase of contact," Prince Zane announced, his golden eyes reflecting the starlight from the viewport. "In 5 years, we will make official first contact with Earth. By then, we will have a full human embassy established. Here, staffed by people like you who chose to reach across the species barrier. Your world will be invited to join the Alliance as full members." The news should have made Lisa happy, but she felt a strange mixture of excitement and worry. Are they ready? Humans can be suspicious of outsiders, and some of our governments are not exactly known for their wisdom. "That is why we are taking our time," Prince Zane replied. "The humans we have brought here will serve as teachers and guides when the time comes. You will help your people understand that the Alliance offers partnership, not conquest. That we seek to learn from humanity as much as we hope to teach." As if summoned by their conversation, Lisa's communication device chimed with an incoming message from Dr. Park. She activated the holographic display, and his excited face appeared in the air between them. "Lisa, you need to see this," Dr. Park said, his voice filled with urgency and wonder. "We just received a distress call from a ship carrying refugees from the Vega system. They are an entirely new species, something none of us have ever encountered before. And they are dying from something that our best healers cannot understand." Lisa was already reaching for her medical kit before Dr. Park finished speaking. The kit was an advanced version that combined Earth techniques with Alliance technology, capable of treating injuries and illnesses across dozens of different physiologies. "Tell them we are on our way," she replied, her instincts as a healer overriding everything else. Prince Zane rose from his chair, his form already beginning to shift back toward his natural dragon shape. I will come with you. If this is a new species, first contact protocols will need to be observed. Some things never change, Lisa thought to herself as they headed for the shuttle bay. No matter how far she traveled or how advanced the technology became, her response to suffering remained the same. She saw beings in pain, and she acted to help them. The shuttle launched toward the refugee ship, carrying Lisa and Prince Zane toward another impossible medical challenge. As they flew through the star field, Lisa reflected on how much her life had changed since that night in the abandoned construction site. She had lost a job but found her true calling among the stars. The refugee ship appeared on their sensors, a damaged vessel limping through space with its hull scarred by whatever disaster had driven its passengers from their home world. Inside were beings that no one in the Alliance had ever seen before, suffering from a disease that defied galactic medicine. But Lisa Martinez was no longer just a human nurse. She was a bridge between species, a healer who had learned to see beyond the boundaries of biology and culture. She had proven that compassion was a universal language and that sometimes the greatest adventures began with the simplest act of kindness. As their shuttle docked with the refugee ship, Lisa felt the familiar rush of adrenaline that came with a medical emergency. Somewhere beyond that airlock were beings who needed her help, and she was ready to give everything she had to save them. Behind them, Earth continued its slow rotation, unaware that one of its children was helping to heal. The galaxy one patient at a time, and around them the stars watched as humanity took its first steps toward becoming something greater than any single world could contain. The unemployed nurse who had walked through Cleveland's industrial district was gone forever. In her place stood Ambassador Lisa Martinez, friend of dragons, healer of worlds, and living proof that the universe was full of possibilities for those brave enough to help a stranger in need.